Start streaming, start recording. Okay.
All right, 9:58 a.m.
See if this, yep, is this up? No.
It's live stream up, and they can all see that
Yeah.
as my thing. Okay, 9:58. Got one more minute. Hello, everybody, if you're waiting for us to get started. $9:59, almost ready. Okay, so when do we hit the start button for recording the
We already.
the intro video? We're already
Oh
ready?
yeah. Okay.
Can I go ahead and play it?
Yeah, let's do that.
All right, let's do it. Teaching through technology, T3 Alliance. Brought to you by UAF, the National Science Foundation, and T3 Alliance. All right, welcome everybody. What's all that? Jump over to me now. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. Hey everybody, nice to see you all today. We're on week 3 of our unpacking the lessons that are associated with the T3 Alliance kit that goes along for the year. Remember last week we built our brush bots, and that was super exciting. Hopefully we got our students feeling that sense of efficacy, feeling that sense of I can do this, I'm puffing my chest out, I have the ability to go out and build something. And we talked a little bit about play and the importance of having a space that is in your classroom where the students can dedicate themselves to knowing it's a safe space to learn. And as a teacher, what we did was make sure that we were attuned to people talking in the classroom. If positive words of praise came out for effort and not achievement, then that has been shown in research to do a better job keeping students in that mindset, with that growth mindset. But we take what we've learned in BrushBot kind of engineering building here, and today we get to transfer things over to building our Raspberry Pi kits. So first I'm going to jump back onto our lesson sequence and kind of show you where we are. Remember, here's our lesson sequence. Overview of your program, step 1, lesson on growth and fixed mindset. And this may be blended with this build the Raspberry Pi kit lesson, or you may choose not to. It depends on, you know, what your time frame is. But when we build the Raspberry Pi kits, essentially you're going to put together something that looks like this. You're going to hook up a fully functioning computer, and students are going to get the fully functioning computer as a bunch of pieces and parts. And for a student who hasn't felt like they have the capacity to do this before, they didn't feel like they had the technology skills, where by the end of here, they will just continue along that road of efficacy, that continue along that road of, I can do stuff that's hard if I just stay focused and I get it done. So when we're setting this thing up, first of all, I recommend that if you can, you do one Raspberry Pi kit per student. If you don't have those resources and you have to switch them up with 2 or 3 students to one, then just make sure that you have space around you. Notice on this table right here that there's a lot of papers and things like that around. These are teachers, so it's kind of a little more organized, but with students, just make sure that you're aware of that in that kind of scenario. I do have a set of slides that that can be presented, and a set of descriptions that go along. But what we're going to do today is we'll go through the understanding of what is going to be done. We'll build one together, and then afterwards we'll introduce students to the power behind it, that little Raspberry Pi that sits there, that little computer that's there, and why it's so awesome. And And in our next lesson, we'll jump into the innards of that computer and start learning to program the computer. But today is still a physical world, and as long as we think of this like a puzzle and we give students the space that they need in order to make this kind of thing happen, then pretty much I have not seen a student who is not successful at this. If I go all the way down to 4th grade level, that's how young kids have been that I've built these kits with, and we've always experienced success in this area. So let me show you what we have on our very simple Raspberry Pi box set of objectives. First is, hey, we are going to assemble this box today using growth mindset, and you're going to communicate with your partners using that growth mindset manner. So as a teacher, you're on the lookout for anybody who says stuff like, you're bad at this, or you're not good at this kind of stuff, or whatever. And there's going to be some tips and tricks that you may want to guide your students in, but for the most part, creating a culture in which students are not afraid to ask and can talk about things. There is a video, a stop motion video of building this box that you can share with your students if they need it, but I would encourage you not to go here if you can help. The video's done well, and it kind of goes through the whole building process, but keeping that puzzle, that kind of challenge out there, that's super helpful. So here's some tips for building. Prepare your area, as we mentioned. Build the base first. Don't force the wooden connections on the box. And take care when using the screws not to loosen anything, and not to lose anything. I hope I spelled that right. Yep. Make sure the screws are sufficiently tight, because at the end, sometimes kids mess that up. So we're going to transfer over to our big screen here. And I have this is oftentimes how Chester, or how the kits are sent to you, wrapped up in this nice little box like this. I have a sharp object. You can find anything, or just a pair of scissors or something, to go ahead and cut the box open. And let's see what we find inside. I think of this kind of like the unboxing experience. You know, it's like a Christmas present. It's like an exciting thing that you just got, and you have the challenge of putting this together. There are certain companies, Apple, there's one I'll point out, that have taken this building or this unboxing experience to that level where they really, really, really make you excited as you're unpacking it. The kids will say, wow, there's a keyboard, awesome. Okay, there's a mouse pad. Look at this. Oh, and a little individually wrapped thing. Okay, all blue taped together. You may or may not choose to blue tape this together. One of the realities that we all face is after you build this the first time, it's built. I've put the time and energy with my students into unbuilding the box at the end of our school season. So when I get a new group of students, to take the time to just unbox everything and put it all together. So notice there's some numbers on here. There's a 3, there's a 2, there's a 1 right here. Okay, that's kind of a clue. That's kind of a clue as to how we put things together. So the students are going to remove the tape, start laying out their materials. My materials are laid out as efficiently as I can. You can see the main component here. Let me look under here to see what's in this next layer. Okay, there is the 2 other kits. Looks like it's the screen. It looks like it's the screen, and it looks like it is the back of the screen. Now, every single Pi device will have a shiny side, or every single, not Pi device, but every single piece of wood here will have a shiny side. I don't know if you can kind of see as light reflects off that, and a more dull side. The shiny side always goes to the outside, and Chester did a good job, or EasyBotics did a good job putting the labeling and stuff on the outside. So anyway, we notice it's a number 6, kind of like a puzzle like we just mentioned. If we look for our beginning number, let's see, there's a 1 and there's a 2. Let's go ahead and assemble these things together. 1, 2. I'm going to look for this. If I keep the shiny side as the outside, that means it'll go like this. And I keep the shiny side as the outside. I'll put the 2 dull sides together. Let's try right here. Does that fit? Okay. Oh. look, looks like it fits. Yay. Okay, now the next side. Here's a number 3. All right, let's see, does that fit? Yay, yes. As you can imagine, this doesn't take much talking from the kids. They're super excited. They're running through this. I'll put this guy off to the side. Okay, now we have a number 5. Now this one says a number 4. So I've got 1, 2, 3, and 4. This will take a little bit of wiggling and jiggling to get it all put together. Patience. And here is an opportunity where a group of students can feel frustrated. Why isn't this thing going together? Sometimes holding it down like so. Then we can test it just so, when it finally does fit together, it's in. Okay, there's that side. Sometimes what you'll be doing as a teacher is coming around and just convincing the kids that even though they're frustrated and it doesn't seem to be fitting, that no, they should keep trying. Although I did honestly imagine that I would be able to do this faster than it's going right now. 1, 2, 3, and 4. And check my numbers right here to see, is everything lining up just so. Oh, look, there was a growth mindset opportunity. Can you see that right there? Dump, dump, dump. It doesn't fit right there. What does that tell you? Notice that right here, I was trying to put this thing in and I looked at one of the teeth and it did not fit. Oh, this teeth doesn't fit either. So that tells me that, aha, something about me pushing, shoving is not going to be successful here. Maybe I don't put this on this side. Instead, I'll try putting this on this side. Look at that. Now it looks like the teeth actually do line up on this side. Oh my goodness. Well, that's an example of the kind of learning moments that we'll have here. Frustrated, possibility for feeling like it's not going to work and I'm not a technology or a put puzzle piece together kind of person. But then, the moment comes when it just fits. Yay! Okay, so that's piece number 4. Now let's try putting the next piece on. I'm thinking of a box, so I'm going to think of symmetry. Does this piece and this piece fit together? Okay, here we go. And gentle jiggling, gentle jiggling. All right. Okay, that looks like it's the base of my box. Now there should be a bag, and I think I may have grabbed one thing that I didn't bring with me is the little bag that goes with this. But in that bag, there would normally be a set of like a nut and a screw, and I would attach these things together with a nut and a screw. Oh, it just so happens that we found one. Okay, here is the bag of nuts and screws that go along with it, and we can look at this. This is where probably what I'm doing right now of putting it on top of the box is not the smartest way of, or not the best way of organizing my stuff. Notice when we look through here, we see a clasp. Okay, we see some little tiny screws like so. We see some larger screws and square screws. Look, there's one extra tiny screw. Let me see. Yep. Looks like it takes 4. Now I see some extra screws. There's a small screwdriver. This is the size screwdriver that comes with it. Okay, so with one of these guys, I'm going to go ahead and start assembling my corners. There we go. And you should do this before the students do this the first time, just so that you feel comfortable with figuring it out. Okay. Here we go. And this one, recognizing, okay, that's tight. That feels good. Okay, here's the next one. This one and this one. And this is where having dexterous fingers can be helpful. Right. Okay. Let's do another one. There we go. All right. And the last one for this side. All right. Yay, it looks like my base is completely done. It feels solid. If I wiggle it any direction, it seems like it's going to stay in. Now I will draw your attention to at least one little thing I saw on here. It's that each of the sides here has an entirely different pattern on it. Now, some of your students might see, oh, wow, the pattern might actually say something if we could convert this into some code. I'll leave that little bit of information there as like a tidbit for you. It's a challenge that Chester built into the design. And anyway, we'll set this guy off to the side, and now we'll start on the lid. Okay, so I got done with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to build the base. Okay, and now it's time to start saying, all right, what's number 6? Aha! Number 6, the back lid. Okay, number 6, I'm going to lay out my other options. I've got a 7, 8, 9, and 10. So 6 and 7, does this one go like this? No. Does it go like this? Ah. Okay. Looks like it fits. Sometimes you will see little spots like this. Notice that there's like a little bit of wood that's stuck out there. This is all done on a home-built laser cutter, so sometimes the laser cutter leaves a little bit of uncut wood as part of it. So you can use your fingernail and just break that away. Once it's closed, you'll never see that again. Okay, there's 6, 7, 8. Put the other one on this side. Okay, ooh, here we go. Got the 2 sides. 9 and 10, and again I'm going to know one of these sides fits, one of these sides doesn't. If I just hold this up like this, I can see, uh-oh, it doesn't look like it fits because something isn't lining up right here. This one don't match, this one don't match. So if I take the whole thing, rotate it upside down, now I'll try again over here. Aha! It does fit. Okay, there we go, and it looks like I have a perfect spot for making some screw holes. Okay, and then this side, got another one. So let's try assembling that one together. And 1. There we go. Boom. All right, ready for our screws again. And again, we're going to take our long screws. Notice that this one doesn't have a place to screw it into. That's because it has a different purpose in just a little bit. We'll look at that later. But for this first one, go right here and push it right through there. And there's a screwdriver. Okay, here's that one. And the other side. One of these. The biggest problem I've ever found associated with these boxes is that students sometimes they don't tighten things to a level that is something that works. Now this box, notice that there's only 2 screws right here at this point. We're going to tighten it up a little bit more once we put the final screen on top, but notice that we got up to 7, 8, 9, 10 with that side, and now this one says number 11. But before we put this number 11 in, I'm going to ask us to think of, let's look at the base. The base has these 2 holes that sit right here at the ends. Okay? Those 2 holes and these 2 holes kind of match up. They should match up. Okay? This is the close our box kind of feature here. So as we look around, we'll find some of these kind of 2-sided screws right here. They have one is a short side with a little bit of, and the other is a button on the other side. So there should be 2 of those in your kit. If you only found one of them, like I am, no, it's not that one that I'm only finding one of. So here we go. We'll go ahead and slide this guy in, just like so. I think it's the easiest to take these buttons and put them on the outside. Okay, I'll start with this little guy and push it right through there so you can see what we're doing. Okay, and then on the outside, grab that guy, and holding our finger right there, we will screw that in such a way that it goes far enough and then stops. Okay, and we'll do the same thing on the other side. This is a little tricky, but it's doable. Okay. This side needs a little screw that goes right on here. Well, where did my screw go? I have rolled off to the side a little bit here, but in the interest of keeping some continuity here, I'm going to pretend like we had it and ask you to be using your best imagination as we imagine this thing finishing up and closing right here. All right, so we're just about ready to put the screen onto our box. Screen. Notice that there's a side of this screen that has speakers. This is a moment what kids can look at for just a little bit. It looks kind of complicated. Right here are 2 speakers. Those speakers are wired in here, and they're plugged into the back of what's a video card. And on the side, there's an input for a VGA monitor. There's an input for HDMI cable and a video out cable here. The standard method that we program these to be is so that it always looks for an HDMI input there. This is the power source, so we'll slide that in like so. And if everything's working fine, it should just fit. Here we go. What I find is that in a classroom environment, 1 or 2 students inevitably are speed racers, and they are either done without tightening all their screws, or they are done, and at the end they're standing around or telling you that they're done. And this is an opportunity where you can engage those Speed Racer students as possible learning coaches. Say, hey, walk around the room and offer assistance with a growth mindset emphasis. So I'm seeing that it's close. Just got it. And sometimes these little variations, I'm just pushing up with my fingers. Aha. There we go. And it fits. Okay. Now just one more. And this is the trickiest one right here. This one right here, because we recognize in the event that I put this little square nut into that spot, and in the event that I don't catch it with this screw, just so, then this nut will go tinkle tinkle all the way down to the bottom of the box here. And that's a moment that I want to avoid. If it happens, it's not the biggest deal. You just take the box apart and put it back together. But if you can keep a little pressure on that screw and nut, then there we go. Once you get it started, you're good. Okay, fits in tight. And we'll do the same thing on the other side. Same thing on the other side. Again, this is a case where I want to be ready to go with this one. And gently, oh, got it. Almost slipped. You do have a few extras of these included in your kit so that in the event that you don't have something there, it should be good to go. Okay, so as long as that works, my kit should now open and close, and it should rest in the open phase at an angle that's pretty comfortable for you to look at as a person. All right, so now there's only one step final remaining, and notice that at the very top of there's like 4 little pilot holes. These little pilot holes are associated with the latch that's provided. We open up this latch, it comes into 2 separate parts, and now comes perhaps the most often untightened aspect of this project. Students do like that much, you know, leave it blank there. This is a situation where if you find a student who's done a good job at it, celebrate that. Say, hey, I really like your effort there. Can you go and do a check on some other students' projects there? Okay, so we are just about done here with the initial setup of the box. This is a moment where when it works, it has an inherent sense of, I figured it out, I got this working, look, it's doing what it's supposed to. There is a palpable energy that is associated with, can I please turn it on? And you as the teacher can choose to say, yes, here is your bag of electronics, here's your kit, and let's take a look at what's inside of it. So in the next week, we are going to go into some detail about how we program our thing, but for right now, I'm going to switch over to our screen cap, or our PowerPoint there, our slides, and we'll look at it that way. So this box is done. It's ready to have the Pi plugged in and turned on. But first, before you hand it out, let's look back and say, hey, any Pi has these kind of things, or a computer is basically a set of inputs and outputs. Also in your kit, you know, you guys already identified the mouse or the keyboard. It's a standard mouse that goes along with it. There is this thing right here, which is the guts of the computer, the Raspberry Pi. And for most students, they've never heard of it before. They have seen, you know, power cords or power chargers. We don't use a power charger like this. We use one that has 3 little blocks on it that, you know, I don't have one that I can show you right now, but then the display is a standard sort of display. Oh, here's a Pi that I was just handed, so it's here. But what I love to do is point out the first aspect of this this project. Oh, one thing it's important to point out that a Pi has a little bit of it's electronic, and at the bottom of this Pi is we've installed, or Chester's installed a plastic protecting thing, and the purpose for that is so that it doesn't accidentally ground out and shock or something like that. But I like to introduce students to what is a Raspberry Pi, and there's a couple of video clips that I'm going to share with you here. Both of them come from the Raspberry Pi Foundation. One of them is this one, and it's about a minute, but it gets students kind of thinking about it. And if all of your students are caught up and ready to go, then gather everyone's attention. You can hold on to the power cords if you want, so that you force them to watch this before they get into too much. Okay, I'll make
a card-sized computer that costs around £25, designed to teach young people to
25 pounds is equivalent to about $35.
Program, and is capable of doing all kinds of wonderful things. Back in the 80s, kids had to learn how to code computers to use them, and as a result, these kids grew up with an inbuilt understanding of how computers work. Now, we need more programmers than ever before. So to deal with this problem, some clever people came up with the Raspberry Pi to reignite the spark. It runs Linux, a free operating system from an SD card, just like the one in your digital camera, and it's powered by a USB phone charger. You just plug in a mouse and a keyboard, connect it to a TV or monitor, and you're ready to go. In schools, not only is Raspberry Pi a great way to learn programming skills as part of ICT, there are also dozens of cross-curricular applications, like science and music. And all over the world, people are experimenting with Raspberry Pis and attending Raspberry Jam events, where people of all ages are learning what can be done with a Raspberry Pi. Since the first Raspberry Pi was shipped, we've seen examples of people using the Pi in a variety of amazing and interesting projects, taking advantage of its size, portability, cost, programmability, and connectability. So whether you want to learn to make games, build robots, or even teach a bird to parachute, with Raspberry Pi, the sky's the limit.
All right, so that little animation is fun, but it's a pregnant moment, as I call it. We have the opportunity there to say, hey guys, let's look and see that this little device here has all of the functionality of a full-size computer. You know that it's cheap. The beginning of our lesson, our unit, and everything here will be about understanding what we can do with it, how we can program and learn about how to do stuff with this. All of these little pins here are called the GPIO pins, the general purpose input-output pins. And these things are what make this more special than average computer. We know that a computer, you plug in a keyboard, you plug in a monitor, and it does stuff. You have USB ports that are a common way that students know, or that your students will know about how to connect in with things. This thing has Bluetooth, and it has a lot of features on it. But what's really exciting is that over the course of this next class, we'll plug in different sensors and different equipment into this into these pins, and we'll be able to communicate with things and have this send and collect data for ourselves. So once you've handed this out, given them that basic overview, it's time to plug everything in and let them have a little fun. This is holding that space while they start connecting up and getting excited to see what it's like. I'll tell you that if you have the Wi-Fi set up in your place, then they will jump in and start getting on the Wi-Fi and notice that all the features of a Google Classroom or any sort of a online environment are available to them. They'll Google funny cat videos and things like that. If you don't have Wi-Fi turned on and they can't get into Wi-Fi, then just exploring and seeing what it looks like is the next option. What I find is that students usually gravitate towards the games. They notice that there's a word processor in there. They notice that there's You know, there's regular looking desktop things that don't look that strange, but they do navigate towards the games and they begin to find Minecraft. And Minecraft has a lot of cool functionalities, things that can be done as people work through this, but it's also, how should I say, it's also a hole into which a lot of energy can go. When it's a learning opportunity and you've got 15 minutes left and say, hey guys, guess what? You can play around on Minecraft and you've had internet, then you have the possibility with these guys to connect up to a network of other people who are using Minecraft in the same classroom, and oh my goodness, then the excitement energy level of your class can skyrocket. However, there's a lot of things to learn about networking and how things go into there. So this lesson, to build the box, plug everything in, learn a little bit about Raspberry Pis, it takes between 30 minutes with a really, really fast class and an hour with a slower class, or adults, truthfully. Adults take longer to assemble this stuff. And then the playing around can take as long as you leave space at the end in order to do that. If you want to cut your class short and say after you've built your box and jump right into what the next lesson will be about, we're going to talk about how to program your Pi and getting into the basics of understanding inputs and outputs, not only from the physical level, but from the digital level. So if you want to make this thing do something, you come up with a set of instructions and use a programming language to communicate those sets of instructions, and then this thing will do what you've asked. It's an amazing tool, and let students brainstorm a little bit on the end. Some of those examples that you saw, a Raspberry Pi in a teddy bear jumping out of an airplane that released its own parachute. Yes, that did happen. You can Google it. I'll put some links down there. If you saw the automatic dog feeding device, yes, those kind of things can happen. A weather station, yes, those kind of things can happen. Those are all projects that you will be able to produce, or that your students will be able to mess around with at the end of learning to use the Force. And the Force, or the skill set, is learning to program this thing and learning to play around with it like the students in the 1980s were doing when computers were first getting popular. So that's it for today. Are there any questions on the... No? Doesn't look like it. So thank you very much. I will post all this and have links to the presentations that I used. I hope you're having fun, and I look forward to sharing more with you in the next week. Thank you very much. T3 Alliance is out. Oh, I could play my outro intro video. I'll play refresh and go to that. Teaching Through Technology, brought to you by UAF and the National Science Foundation. Cha-ching. Okay, and now I'll go.